Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Hey. Here we are again, episode 44 of the Sports Card Nation podcast. It's funny, I must be a numbers guy. Certain numbers have a significance to me. You know, when we did episode 42, I made sure to inject a little Jackie Robinson flavor into that show, as Jackie is one of my idols. And 44 also has at least a connotation to me. Those of you that know, I reside in the Syracuse, New York area. I'm a Syracuse University season ticket for a football holder, and 44 is a legendary number with that school when it comes to football. The legend, it's a running back number worn by many of a legend, starting with Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, and they don't actually really give it out anymore. It's sort of unofficially retired. So when I thought of episode 44, I immediately thought of that. The show art will have the 44 from Syracuse as part of it. So a little bit of a backstory there, if you will, and Syracuse fans or Syracuse historians will know exactly what I'm talking about. So welcome back. It must be Friday, episode 44 of the Sports Card Nation. Can't tell you how pleased I am with how the show is doing, where it's at, and here we are, 44 episodes in. Again, had no idea what direction we were definitely going to go in and how the show would do, and here we are in episode 44 doing very well, and I'm very ecstatic that you allow me to do this. So let's not humble brag there, if you will, but let's talk about the show. Going to have my friend Luke Pascal on again, second time on the show. First appearance, we talked a little bit about a lot of things. Gary V, people charging for baseball card information and investment information. We'll kind of revisit that a little bit, see what he's up to, and kind of current hobby goings on. I want to congratulate C-Dub from Twitter. He was the winner in the Slab Pack backpack case from Firebox Cases, $90 retail value, and he's going to get that shipped to him, to his door, absolutely free. I want to thank everyone who participated. I made it sort of like a scavenger hunt. You had to get a word from the podcast itself. I put another word on the website itself, and had quite a bit of entries. A lot of people trying to get that slab pack case, as it is a great case, and C-Dub was, luckily for his sake, the winner when I randomized the list. And the giveaways are going to keep coming. While I brought that up, let's talk about some of the giveaways coming up the line. I got a Gary V 360 set from Topps that I got signed in person at the National in Chicago. I actually have a few. I put one aside with the sole purpose of giving it away on this show. I'm not sure what episode I'm going to do that and how I'm going to do it, but it will be given away. You've heard me say probably numerous times, episode 50, we're one step closer to it. It's a big milestone to me. When we hit it, I'm going to give away $50 cash that week for the episode 50. And if you follow me on social media, you might have saw I posted a picture of the prize box, a monster box full of autos, graded cards, relic cards, and a little of everything of cards that we're going to give away at various points here. So, stay with us. A chance to win some free stuff and get some information and content at the same time. That's always a good thing. So,
here we go.
All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. All right, time for our hobby segment, aka What's Crackin'. Let's get the release schedule done first and out of the way, and then we can talk about some of the hobbies goings on. A lot of releases on the docket. Let's start with the day of the show here, September 27th, which is a Friday. A lot of products coming out. 2019-20 Leaf Superlative Hockey. 2019 Panini National Treasures Baseball. 2019 Panini Illusions Football. On the 2nd of October, we have 2019 Topps Archives Signature Series Retired Player Edition Baseball. That one per box product. A lot of one-on-ones for you folks that love the one-on-ones. The also same day, 2019 Panini Contenders Draft Picks Collegiate Baseball. Not going to have the same chutzpah that the basketball did, but for you baseball fans, there it is. Also that day, 2019 TriStar Hidden Treasures Autograph Baseball Platinum Series 2. And on the 3rd, one item, the 2019 Onyx Lumber Collection Baseball Bat Box. On October 4th, heavy release day, very heavy release day. All on October 4th, 2019 Top Star Wars Journey to Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker Hobby Box. 2018-19 Panini Immaculate Basketball Hobby. Also, 2019 Leaf Metal Babe Ruth Collection Baseball Hobby. I don't have the spec sheet in front of me, but I believe there's a guaranteed Babe Ruth game used bat card in each of those boxes, but don't quote me. Also, same day, October 4th, Panini 2019 NFL 5 Trading Card Game, and 2019 Panini Prism Racing. So plenty of choices to choose from if you get that pack opening itch here in the next week. Let's talk about some of the hobby news. Let's stay on some wax products. Topps has got some online exclusives, which I kind of like the thought of. Panini's got their first off the line, and Topps is doing these packs or boxes where they're hobby exclusives. One they just released, which sold out in 7 minutes nonetheless, was the 2019 Topps Chrome Sapphire Edition. Really, really sharp looking products, and they made it online only at $50 a box, so at a really great price level. I'll be honest with you, I kind of forgot about it and didn't try to get it, but I saw people posting that they got 4, 5, 6 boxes, so I think it'll be a little different than Panini off the line. I think there'll be quantities available, but still a great product at a great price point. So if you didn't get it through the online window sale, you'll have to go the secondary route. But 7 minutes at $50 a box, like I said, very affordable. In 2019 is a great rookie year with not just one guy or two guys like Acuna and Soto last year. There's multiple guys this year, so that product is probably long term going to be a decent purchase. Also, a couple more online exclusives from Topps. It looks like this is going to be something they continue to do. Again, my personal feelings is I like the idea, but they're doing a Topps Heritage High number, 15-pack blaster sort of box, if you will, or mega box they're calling it, a mega box. It's $40. You get 15 packs, Heritage High numbers, and in there's going to be some Bowman Chrome exclusive to that set. So that'll be a nice product. They're also going to do the Arizona Fall League set, which will be obviously prospect laden. They're selling team sets. There's 6 teams in that league, and so they're making a team set for each of those teams. You can buy those exclusively on Topps Online, and each one of those team sets will have an auto. It can be numbered from 101 to, I believe, 99. So Topps is answering Panini with some products, exclusive online of their own as well. Let's talk about some individual cards. Vintage, if you've heard me before, vintage I think is where it's really at long term. Let's talk about a vintage classic, if you will, the T206 Wagner. Just sold a cut version on Heritage for $540,000, so over $500,000. Very badly cut if you've seen pictures of it. But not trimmed like the old Scandal. This was just outright cut. Prior to that, someone as a kid maybe did it. I'm not sure why, but it's trimmed severely, not trimmed to get a higher grade. So, matter of fact, it's graded as just authentic. Yet, still, in that condition, brought over $500,000 at $540,000. There's also a PSA 2 version of that card that will be auctioned off here in the next few weeks as well. So stay tuned for another expensive auction. We'll see what that winds up bringing as well. Going back to Topps, they are doing a vote, an online vote. That vote is going to be pertaining to voting for the player you want to be the number 1 card in the 2020 Topps flagship release next year. They give you a list of 19 players to vote for your choice of who you want to see on card number 1. You could also write in what player you want to see if your player is not one of those 19. I kind of like that interactiveness that Topps is doing. Kind of nice that they're doing that. And speaking of that, we're doing the same thing here at Sports Card Nation. You may have seen some of the social media. We're doing our first ever, I don't know if you want to call them industry awards, but I call them Hobbyist Choice Awards because you're going to vote, and whoever gets the highest votes are going to win. And it's going to be hobby awards, in the 4 sports, baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. We're going to have categories like best high-end product, best low-end product, hobby rookie of the year in each of the sports, and some other categories. Best new product, sort of like rookie of the year for the products itself. And I believe I came up, I'm not looking at the list at the moment, I believe I came up with 20 separate categories, so there'll be 20 winners awarded, if you will, all voted on by you. I'm going to set the 4 or 5 candidates to vote for, but the voting is going to solely come from you on social media. I'll tally those votes up. I'll probably have 3 to 4 day windows on a lot of these votes, and after we get those final votes in, we're going to have an award show, and we're going to award the Hobbyist Awards. I'm calling them the Newmies. because I can, and it's my show. But the Newmies will play off my last name, and it's going to be the first time we're doing it. So might be a few bumps in the road, but I think we'll be all right. And it's something I hope to do every year, and I hope when I do put it up to vote, it's nice that the power is in the hobbyist's hands. But I hope you take that vote with significance. I know it's for fun, but we are going to do actual probably certificates. I'll mail them to the respective companies and the categories that they do win. What they do with it is their business, but I think they should get them. And I'm glad that it's going to be a hobbyist vote. It's not going to be me just as a dictatorship saying I picked that, I like that. It's going to be the masses will carry the day. So look for that in the next few months. I kind of want to wrap it all up sometime in November, and do it as sort of the end of the year awards, if you will. Speaking of new shows, me and Drew Herndon from Let Me Get That Potograph are teaming up to do a weekly live Sunday night podcast, 9:30 every Sunday. We're not sure what platform it's going to be on, but I know I have a face for radio, but I'm going to try to have a face for video, and I guarantee your safety. You may want to look away, but one thing I can guarantee is we're going to bring you some insight, some information. I'm a huge football guy. I know I'm tooting my own horn there. I've coached football. I've played it. It's my favorite sport. I'm active in obviously watching it, collecting it, selling it, and fantasy leagues and all that jazz. I'm very up on my football game, if you will. And Drew came to me with this idea to do this Sunday night kind of a wrap-up show, not really hobby-based. So we're, it's going to be, basically a review of the weekend's games. We'll talk about what happened in those games. We'll talk about off-the-field stuff, on-the-field stuff, front office stuff. We'll do some picks in a gambling segment where we'll pick a few games on the upcoming game schedule. We'll track how we're doing record-wise with that. Yes, there'll be a little hobby tie-ins, if you will, but it's really going to be more of a sport-heavy program. The name of the program is Roughing the Passer. I love that name, Roughing the Passer. So it's the Roughing the Passer podcast with DH and myself, Newman, and Sunday nights, 9:30. We're going to give it a whirl. I think it'll be fun. I know it'll be fun. Hopefully everyone likes it, and it's something we'll do every Sunday. We're kind of going to go into it with kind of like what I always say, even with this show. Keep expectations tempered. Hopefully it gathers some steam and does real well, and therefore, if so, that's the case. We'll keep doing them. So you're going to get to see me and Drew, not in the same place at the same time, but sharing a screen nonetheless. And, may want to bring a pillow to put over your eyes so you don't have to see me. So, but all joking aside, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it, and hopefully bring you some insight into what I believe is the new America's pastime.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast, now on 10 platforms: iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Castbox, and Overcast. Listened to in over 26 countries globally, Sports Card Nation Podcast is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, all our great guests, and our tremendous sponsors for making us what we are today. As always, without you, there is no us.
All right, joining me now on the Sports Card Nation podcast guest line. I consider him a friend. His name's Luke Pascal. He's been on the show, episode 28 to be exact, which was at the end of May. And when we had him on then, one of the things he's known for, and he has a great historical autograph collection and sports. And when we had that interview then, we went long. We talked about a lot of great stuff, from Gary V to people charging for sports card investment advice and grading, and we never actually touched on his own personal stuff. And I said, man, I got to have him back on because that we missed that boat completely. So it's going to be the first thing we talk about, but I don't want to make him wait too long. So Luke, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me back.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And you know what? We talked a little bit off the air about this. It's that show itself, episode 28, is the second highest listening show out of the 43 that have aired so far. And the first most listened show, like I mentioned to you, was my national recap, which had interviews from SGC Grading and the Pit, and like I said, was national heavy. So it sort of was kind of like a juiced up double episode. So it got the most rotation. So as far as normal regular shows with one guest, your appearance still is right there, like you said, with an asterisk, if you will.
Yep, we're the Roger Marys.
So, like I said in the intro, when you were on 28, we completely missed something I definitely wanted to highlight and talk about, and that's and I know we've talked a lot in chat and stuff about some of the stuff you have, which is crazy, and while not all of it is obviously sports related. I think whether you're just a hobbyist or not, I think just the historical significance of some of your collection, I don't care who you are, it's interesting to everybody. So if you want, kind of start out how you got into that aspect of collecting and acquiring some of that stuff.
Probably about 4 years ago, and I was getting back into cards. And I was buying a lot of cards, and I was trying to figure out if I could make a side business out of selling sports cards and buying sports cards, flipping, etc. And I just done good on the stock market. It was that great year.
Yep.
So actually, it was a little bit less. Actually, no, I started about 4 years ago, and then I had been in it, and we had a great year in the stock market. And I said, well, obviously this is not sustainable, even though it's been pretty strong recently.
Yeah.
And I took some of my money, and I said, I want to get into more. I want to get into more things, not just cards.
Yeah, diversify.
Diversify. I looked into different sort of collectibles. And I always had an autograph thing.
Yeah.
I was collecting autographs as a kid. I go to games early, get players to sign, etc. And I came across presidential stuff, and I was really intrigued by the election in 2016, and learning about it. And I basically started researching values of different important historical signatures, not just presidential stuff, even, Martin Luther King type people,
yeah.
Napoleon, just really important people in history.
Yeah.
And my thought process was, I'm collecting these modern cards, players like Ronald Acuna, Trout, Judge, they can all get hurt tomorrow,
yep.
And you see a big decrease in value. But a safe asset would be autographs, especially historical autographs, as long as they were genuine, authentic, and on good mediums. So one of the first things I bought was One of the first things I did was I went around the city. I live in New York,
Yep.
and I looked for shops, and I ended up at the Burgundy shop, which is on 57th Street here.
Yep.
And they had just opened up, and they were moving from one spot to another. They're setting up their wall. They have a great wall there. It's filled with different historical autographs, and there was one piece that wasn't on the wall. And it's in their back office, like leaning up against stuff, and it looks crazy to me. So I'm like, what's that one? And they're like, oh, well, that's a pretty great piece. So they bring it out, and it's a letter. It's an endorsement letter. So there was Hamilton Fish wrote the letter, and he's asking Abraham Lincoln to promote someone that he knew in the Army during the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the back side of it, Lincoln signs it and endorses it, dates it, etc., which is kind of a popular thing for Lincoln to do. He does that a lot. He did it a lot during the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to have it, So I worked out a deal with them. I went there a few times before we did work out the deal,
mm-hmm.
and I just bought it. And then from there, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was just trying to buy anything that was historically significant, that could maybe not increase in value over time, but maybe a long period of time it would increase in value, but just not lose value.
Yeah. And we've talked before about this, just me and you, and you make a great point. If a current athlete blows out a knee or commits a crime and their career ends, and you have thousands of dollars into them, if you will, you can and overnight you could be out all that investment, if you will. And with these historical autographs, they obviously they're no longer with us, so it's not like they're signing every year in a product and that sort of thing. And their mark has been made. They're not going to have a bad year or a career-ending injury. And the fact is, signatures from those time periods weren't the commodity they are in today's day and age. So they're not as prevalent, obviously. Everyone wants to pull a Mike Trout auto, myself included. But quite frankly, there's millions of probably Mike Trout autographs in existence, whether those be in-person autos or certified autos he signs. And so there's never going to be, while they might hold their value long term, there's never really going to be a Mike Trout signature shortage. And the same can't be said for those historical figures. I think there's, think about how many didn't survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Through the test of time, stuff just got destroyed or damaged to unrepair, and no one's throwing away at this point Mike Trout or Acuna autos. So the amount, and you've touched on this yourself. They can't. There's never going to be a flooded market. There's never going to be a gluttony. What exists, and maybe some will pop up here and there, but in such minuscule amounts, it's not going to affect any kind of value in a negative fashion. And I don't know I can't speak for everyone else, but while I may not have liked history during my school days as much as I get older, I find it, like you said, pretty fascinating what some these individuals have done in their accomplishments, and then to be able to get an autograph as you do of some of these historical figures is just, it's crazy to think like something in your house or in your possession, Abraham Lincoln had that in his hand, or whoever else. And that's the other thing, if you don't mind sharing, with the listeners, some of the other pieces that you have in your collection as well.
Yeah, definitely. To your point, real quick, 2 points I want to make. The card market today, and we talked about this before, artificial scarcity.
Yeah.
They're making it rare on purpose. It's not because it is rare. It's done on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's orange, it's gold, it's red, and then they're each numbered. That's a number that comes out of a factory.
Yep.
That doesn't happen with historical stuff. Essentially, every historical autograph is a one of one, unless unless they're signing a ton of books or signing a ton of checks. There's very rare, even in that case, the check is stamped over the signature, sometimes canceled. The book is a smudge. Every signature historically is a one of one.
Yeah.
And the other point I wanted to make is, you look, a lot of people kind of, shoo me when I say it, but it happened just recently with Antonio Brown and Andrew Luck. All these people had tons of money invested in these guys, and next thing you know, they're gone.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, in history, in terms of historical football players, they really aren't that important anymore.
Yeah.
Their careers are pretty much over. But, Lincoln is Lincoln, and I said it before, Lincoln's not going to get Me Too'd.
Yeah.
He's not gonna kill anyone or pull some O.J. Simpson. It's not gonna happen. But some of the other stuff I have, I have a lot of presidents. I have Kennedy, I have Reagan, I have Obama, I have Clinton, I have Trump.
Yeah.
I have Bush. I have some of the older guys. I've bought and sold. I've bought and sold a few Lincolns, Polk, a lot of random guys. I've been getting into more modern entertainment recently.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the Breaking Bad movie, so I've been buying a lot of Breaking Bad stuff, which is really hard to find because now Bryan Cranston doesn't sign any Breaking Bad material.
Oh.
So I think that's another thing that potentially. It's kind of like The Sopranos. Gandolfini's gone.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna. It's very hard to find that stuff, especially when someone's refusing to sign it.
Yeah. Why is that? Why is Cranston? Is there? Do you know the backstory?
I think he saw that a lot of people were getting a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of Broadway shows, and afterwards he signs autographs outside.
Yeah.
And I saw him refuse to sign anything Breaking Bad. So I don't know why. There's articles about it, but I assume it's because he knows how much money people are getting for it.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about Bruce Springsteen too. Like he signs for certain people.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that anymore, but only certain people get signatures and certain people don't. So, he's another one that's a little, kind of rare, hard to find.
Yeah.
But recently, to be honest with you, I also have a great baseball collection. I have Mantle, DiMaggio, all those guys. I don't have Ruth. I've almost bought Ruth a bunch of times, but there's a lot of Ruth out there. And if I'm going to buy the Ruth, I want to make sure I buy the right one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like another thing that I'm very big on. I'll bid on stuff here and there, but like, it's got to be the right one. You know. But I have a lot of presidents. I kind of focus on the presidents.
Have you ever thought about like getting one of every president who's served? I know obviously that's insanely difficult. Has the thought entered your mind to
Yes. That's 100% what I started. I wanted to get every single one of them. Yeah. But then I was trying to upgrade and sell. And every president has a demand, you know? But Millard Fillmore, Calvin Coolidge, some of these guys, John Tyler, they're not huge names.
They're the commons of the president.
Exactly. So there's 45 presidents, but there's some guys that are not as
in demand,
important or in demand. So some of them are really hard to sell. And if you want to get your premium, it took me about a year to sell Polk. And Polk is a really hard one to find. The other reason that it's hard to do is a lot of people, they want to get stuff signed as president when they were, dated or something. Yeah. William Henry Harrison is almost impossible to find because he was killed so shortly after becoming president. And then, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Dick Cheney was president for a day because Bush was under.
Yeah.
He had to have a surgery.
Yeah.
You know, and there was another guy who was supposedly president for a day. I forget his name. So there's so many ins and outs of collecting every single president that after a while I was like, yeah, you know, I kind of just want to get the ones that are affordable, that are not as interesting, but as a, you know, kind of affordable.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to spend big money on one, I want it to be Jefferson, Washington, Lincoln.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know, so I'm asking you. I'm going to make the assumption. You can correct me if I'm wrong. As far as difficulty or highest value, I guess it's the obvious choice, but I got a feeling I might not even be right. Is it George Washington as far as presidents go?
Yeah, definitely. George Washington is the most valuable for sure. Lincoln's probably a close second. When it goes to modern presidents, it kind of depends on what medium it was signed.
Yeah.
I could tell you that Carter is by far the cheapest.
Yeah. Well, the guy still, God bless him, what is he, 96 or something? Like he's still alive.
He's pumping out autographs all the time. Signs books, you know, they're all out there. Ford is very cheap.
Yeah.
You know, I think some people would be surprised, some people wouldn't be surprised, but Trump is very expensive on certain mediums.
Yeah.
He has checks that just went for upwards of $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
Obama is another one. And, well, Trump is interesting, actually, because Trump signs two ways. He signs Trump and Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is extremely scarce, especially now.
Yeah.
So if you have something signed Donald Trump, it's kind of more valuable than Trump.
Yeah.
You know, for example, like on a baseball, you have a baseball that says Trump. One just went for like $900, just Trump. Donald Trump, that's probably a $2,000-$3,000 thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about Obama he used auto pen a lot. He didn't sign that much, and he very rarely wrote letters. So if you have a letter written by Obama, you're looking at $6,000-$7,000.
Wow.
You know, but on his most popular medium is a book. He wrote a book, Audacity of Hope, I think it's called. Those sell kind of consistently at around $400, $500, $600, $700.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll push.
Which is sort of surprising because he's not an older guy in terms of presidents go. He still makes the rounds. He travels. He's you know, he's not in hiding, if you will. He's still a pretty active guy. You know, and
he just doesn't pick up a pen that often.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean, it's hard to find. It really is. I spent a long time trying to find an Obama autograph. You know, politics aside, you know, when you're collecting, you got to buy what you buy. You know.
Yeah.
I think people are surprised at how much certain people that they might not necessarily like sell for.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you know, there's two sides of that coin. I might not like them. You might. I might like them. You might not. So there's still going to be a demand on probably half the aisle, if not more. And then there's, like you said, you when you are doing your dealing, you put the politics aside and you're not looking at from a partisan point of view. You're just a collector, you know. So
yeah. And you know, there's certain signatures on different mediums are more expensive. Nixon on certain things is very expensive. You know, it really depends on what they sign, when they sign it, you know, and for Trump, how he signs it. Yeah. Everyone else is kind of you know, similar. But
what do you know the backstory there? When does he sign his full name and just Trump? Is there any rhyme or reason? From
what I've seen, there's not much rhyme or reason. It seems like it's whatever he's in the mood to do. Yeah. He signs his checks Trump. I'm sure he signs his checks Trump because he's writing a lot of them.
Yeah.
I know when he's on the campaign trail, he signs Trump because he's trying to sign as many as possible.
Yeah.
But I have a baseball signed Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it's in ballpoint pen. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's... You know, people have offered me $2,000-$3,000 for it, and I haven't taken it because every other one I see is signed in Sharpie and just says Trump.
Yeah, and And I know, the Sharpies over time will bleed out a lot of times and then fade. And obviously pen is the medium of choice when it comes to baseball.
Exactly. And, you look at someone like Bush, he was in baseball. He owned the Rangers. So he signed a lot of baseballs. I made a post the other day about how presidents and baseballs, signing baseballs became a thing. It became a thing in 1910. Taft threw out the first pitch, and he signed that ball. That ball was in the Hall of Fame, and it was actually stolen and just recovered a few years ago.
Wow.
So it was missing for years. It's going, kind of on the black market. Different dealers had it, and it was missing for a long time. But politics aside, another thing that I've been recently dabbling into is Mafia autographs.
Yeah.
I have a hunch, and I've spoke to a few big dealers about it, and I think I'm right here, and other dealers have told me that they feel the same way. In fact, probably the biggest dealer in historical autographs told me he feels very strongly about this. Mob autographs, to me, have a huge future. They're kind of undervalued right now.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find most of these guys, the big names.
Yeah.
Gotti, Carlo Gambino. They're very, if you think about it, these guys have no paper trail. Everything was destroyed.
Yeah.
And the biggest name is Capone.
Yeah.
And his stuff, a signature of his will go, I've heard there's only 10 known, and they're going for 20, 30 grand each.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a hunch of mine. I've been kind of studying that market. It's
true, and I'm from New York City. How do I want to word this? I know quite a bit about Cosa Nostra and everything entailed to that. And like you said, they're trying to stay off the radar, and so they're not signing a bunch of things to be on the radar. So, like you said, it's a great point. There's just not going to be as many things with their signature on it. This isn't, they're making decisions. A president passes a bill, makes a decision, he signs something. They're running a
then
corporation. It's all verbal.
Yep, exactly. It's all verbal. There's no paperwork. They're not trying to sign checks.
So they're dealing in a lot more, really a lot of liquid cash. So
exactly.
So you're right, and the fact, like you said, Capone only has, to your estimation, 10 known copies of his signature in rotation. I mean, that's, when you think about it, I mean, we're not even talking someone from like the Roman days or that far back. That's to me, it's a very low number. And like you said, I think even a lot of the other guys probably a little bit more, obviously, but still, when you compare them to other genres and other niches, they're going to be on the low end of the scale. Like you said, it's undervalued. And that's when you want to get into something, when the ceiling's has the highest ceiling. And I think when more people put two and two together, there'll obviously be an increased demand while the supply won't change.
Exactly. And, some people might say, why are you collecting mob? I mean, what the hell? They kill people. Well, yeah, but they're also a really important part of history. And if you look at history, a lot of criminals are not collected necessarily unless they were romanticized. And these guys were definitely romanticized.
Yeah.
There's movies about them. And, it's really, and I'm telling you, it's hard to find this stuff. And there's very rarely does something appear for sale for certain guys. John Gotti, I bought 2 letters in the last 3 months. One letter is very important. It's probably his first time he's mentioning he died of throat cancer.
Yep.
He's complaining about having throat pain. But John Gotti never signed his name John Gotti. It's kind of like Trump. He wrote Johnny. He wrote John.
Yeah.
He signed checks J. Gotti. So finding something John Gotti is super rare. In fact, I'll tell you, in the last 20 years I've looked at sales, only about 5 or 6 have sold that said John Gotti.
Yeah.
I actually closed a deal yesterday to buy one that says John Gotti. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And then you look at a guy named Sam Giancana.
Yep.
I bought one of his. I think I bought a document signed by him. It's a power of attorney doc. One hasn't sold in the last 27 years. The last time one sold, it was this one.
Yeah. Wow.
So, you just don't find this stuff, and it's undervalued. It's undervalued.
Well, no, you're right, and I know the touch on the criminal element, like you said though, Luke, it's still part of history. It's romanticized. My favorite movie is The Godfather. My son's favorite movie is The Godfather. There's certain things that you can compare. While you might not agree with everything that goes down, there's certain elements of loyalty and respect and that you can actually take from that, and I know I do, truth be told, and so, and like you said, I think, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I there's not a lot of that out there, and now, you didn't charge for that advice, but now is probably the time to see what you can acquire in that niche,
I that's what I've been doing the last year.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everyone that's, a serious autograph collector to kind of think about it, because when it was told to me, when that advice was given to me, I kind of brushed it off, but the more I did the research, I realized, this guy's onto something.
Yeah.
And I really think there's a bright future. You got big movies coming out.
Yeah.
You got The Irishman coming out.
That looks good. Yep.
Yeah, it does look good. But there's a bright future for that stuff. John Gotti is John Gotti is John Gotti. His name is going to ring bells forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to ask you, when you make these acquisitions, are they always authenticated prior to purchase, or do you ever take a chance and buy something and then have it? What percentage is your purchases on each side?
I buy a lot of stuff unauthenticated. I prefer to buy them authenticated. I'd rather pay more to buy it authenticated. Some stuff is kind of easy to tell. John Gotti has handwriting that no one can copy.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's copying his handwriting. As long as the ink is live, it's fine. It was a lot of his letters were written out of jail.
Yeah.
So some of them will come with the envelope, and the envelope will have, Gotti, U.S. Penitentiary, his number on it. There's certain things that kind of give it away.
Yeah.
Before I bought a Meyer Lansky letter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it from just anyone. That's one piece of advice. I would, form a relationship with that person, find out why they want to sell it, etc.
Yeah.
But I constantly compare. I sit with the document or a picture of the document. I look at ones that have sold and been authenticated in the past. I try to buy stuff that's not just a signature, that there's words there that I can compare. I'll look at the word the word all, words that are used consistently over different letters and compare those. There's certain people that I will never do that. I'll never do that with John F. Kennedy. His signature changed over time. He's really tough to figure out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Lincoln, I'd done it with. You can kind of tell with the paper. It's kind of from a unique time. He does certain things in his signature that you really can't replicate. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of easy to tell. To be honest with you, I've had more bad luck with more of the modern guys rather than the older guys. But there's guys out here cooking paper.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've definitely I've never gotten stuck with something fake. I've been able to give it back, put it that way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where my biggest problem would be buying something that would be authenticated by JSA, then showing it to PSA, and then them failing it.
Yeah.
PSA, I don't know. To be honest with you, I have certain thoughts about the way they do things. Certain things they just can't fail because it's too obvious. But they failed something that I bought that was already authenticated.
Yeah.
They've also failed stuff that I've bought that was pre-authenticated.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so subjective, Luke, and
yeah,
it's just like grading. I even think of my own, the way I sign my own name. I can look at 3 or 4 different things I've signed, and the autographs are not going to probably be spot on, all exactly the same. So it's really so tricky and hard to do. And I've heard, besides what you just said, I've heard other people talk about, like, I got this in person, like I know it's real, and then I submitted it just to get the certificate, just the authenticity, and it was failed, and I got it in person. So it's 100% in my mind it's real. I wasn't really even looking for so much the verification. It's just I need the certificate to go with it. I got it in person, and they're telling me it's not real. And so if that's the case, that just tells you how subjective things like that can be. And I've rushed to sign something. I had to, like, in a hurry. Hey, can you? I'm not talking about an autograph for someone, but a document to get, that I had to sign it. And I've rushed, and I know it looks nothing like I probably signed before. So there's so many variables, and it's hard. It wouldn't be a profession I really want to put my stake on, because to me it's more so than even cards. Cards are kind of same. They should be the same size, the same cut, the same material. It's a little more regimented than an autograph, which there's so many variables to. Well, they could be on different types of paper. It could be on obviously a ball, or a hat, or all different types of material, and that sort of thing. And not since we mentioned it, or I mentioned it, talking about grading cards, that's not it's still subjective, but a little more set in stone with dimensions of the card. We talked a little bit about it in May when you were last on, about the grading controversy, which was really in its early stages, and it's still going on. I wanted to get a little more thoughts. Here we are, 4 or 5 months later, what you think of where it's at now.
Well, I'm curious to hear what you think too. But I mean, what I have major worries. I'll put it that way. I don't want to sound like I'm, scared or like trying to scare people.
Yeah.
But I have worries about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I think at the National we saw a ton of subpoenas issued to different people. I heard there was 22 subpoenas issued. They were issued to different people, dealers. I believe I don't know for sure, but I believe that PSA must have gotten one. I would think that all the grading companies got one. I don't know that for sure though. Just assuming because of who else got them. I think the PWCC thing is kind of getting out of hand. I will not buy from them anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I've said on the show, Luke, I was at the National, and their booth, I mean, it was weird. I've never been in the National before Chicago, don't get me wrong, but here they are, a major player before this all broke, and their booth, it was like sort of like a ghost town. It was like they were a pariah. No one really was going there. At one point, Brett Hudgens was there, and the look on his face, to me, the look on his face, it was like someone who knew or was concerned, like, what do I do? This is my business here, and I don't know, how I get out of it. I heard he had his
lawyer with him the entire time. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know what's true, and I don't know what's not true. But I can tell you this: I know I have a lot of people reach out to me on DM, and they tell me different things that have happened to them.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of big friends in the hobby that are big time dealers, and I always ask their opinion about it. I've stopped buying cards over the last 2-3 months, and not solely because of their opinions, just because the baseball season's winding down.
Yeah.
I did buy Acuna's when that whole
Yeah.
pop happened, but I have I'm not buying because of that. I'm not buying because of a few reasons, but that's definitely one of the reasons. I'm a little nervous about buying higher end cards. I'd rather buy an autograph right now.
Yeah.
I just think it's safer. I think that a lot of people aren't really thinking straight about it, and the reality is, if 22 subpoenas were given out, it's a really big problem, and they're not going to just stop. Investigating. They're going to take somebody down. And it's a matter of if they're taking one person down or 20 people down, or if they're going to take the big Probstein PWCC guys down. I know a guy who just bought a Ted Williams card off of Probstein, and he sent it into PSA for a reholder.
Yeah.
PSA reached back out to him, called him up, and they said that this card was trimmed. It was an 8. They said it was trimmed, and what they did then is something that initially I was very happy about, but then I got kind of nervous about it, thinking about it more logically. They asked him where he bought it. He bought it from Probstein. He provided them with documentation of how much he paid, and PSA then refunded him that money from that sale. So he paid $1,500 for it, and they gave him $1,500 plus 50 free submissions. So when I heard that, I was like, well, that's great news for the hobby, because at least they're doing the right thing. And then I thought, wait a minute. This is the company that's known for having the worst customer service. Now, I personally like PSA.
Yeah.
I have good experiences and I have bad. I think everyone really does.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to be a knock on PSA, but PSA is the key here. They're the most important company to this hobby. More than Beckett, more than PWCC, PSA is the company that is the most important. They're publicly traded as well. Yeah. So the fact that they're doing this, it is good because they're being honest. But are they being honest because they are forced to be honest? Because if you ask me, in the last, you sent that card in before this whole scandal happened, you might just get it in the reholder.
Yeah.
So that's for everyone else's judgment, to be honest. But initially, there's two ways to look at it. One, they're being honest, which is good. 2, are they being forced to be honest? Yeah. And then 3, I wouldn't want to own that stock. Because if they're sending back refunds, that's going to be a lot of money over time. A lot of money. Yeah. And they're kind of responsible for that. So,
here's
doing the right thing. And from what I've heard, I want to say this too.
Yeah,
from what I've heard, Joe Orlando is an honest guy.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but that's what I've heard. You know, so I think that these guys want to do the right thing. I think they've made some mistakes. I think there could be a bad apple here or there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. These are corporations. It doesn't mean that everybody is on the same page and it's a memo that, hey, we're going to be crooked. But it just takes a few. Like you said, I don't know Joe Orlando either, and maybe he's above board and everything. He's a great human being, and it's just stuff happening under him that he's trying now maybe to corral or curtail and right the ship.
He's a very important person in this situation. He needs to be honest.
Yeah.
It needs to come out that he was honest. If a grader was, a little corrupt, that's not the best thing in the world, but you fire him.
Yeah.
They're doing the right thing by issuing the refund, that's for sure, because now you're not losing that collector.
Now, did they keep the card?
They sent it back in an authentic holder.
Okay. So that was my next question is, did they keep the card? And then if they keep the card, I would have, not that you can answer it, but I would ask you, like, where does the card go? Are they destroying it? where does it wind up? But you said they sent it back in the authentic
They
slab.
sent it back authentic. I don't think it was a card that was in that list. I know that they took a lot of cards that were trimmed, and the FBI had those. But, you know, the other point I make is I spoke to a guy who's a lawyer, and he's a big-time dealer as well. And he told me, he was around when the whole Mastro thing happened in 1998, the Operation Bullpen. And he told me that this took a long time. It took a long time. They spent their time gathering evidence, and then it just hit like a brick wall.
Yeah.
So the thing about this that makes me nervous is one day this might hit like a brick wall.
Yeah.
How hard it hits, who knows? 22 subpoenas?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. No, and here's the thing, Luke, and I think you'll agree wholeheartedly with me. They're not handing out 22 subpoenas for no reason. Like, this isn't just, we'll never hear nothing about it again. I think you hit it right on the head. I think they're crossing all their T's, dotting their I's. They just want to make sure everything is, they got everything in order for when they do decide.
This is the beginning.
Yeah. It's been quiet. It's been quiet, and I think certain people are just wondering, well, is it go? Maybe it's going away. That's the end. And I think, I agree with you. I think they're just getting their ducks in a row. They want to make sure if there's going to be charges levied and prosecution, they want to make sure they got all angles covered. That it would look really bad on their part. Let's be honest. You know, and you got to remember, I've said this on the show. You know this. I'm not breaking any news for you. When the feds prosecute anything or anybody, it costs them quite a bit of money to do that, and manpower hours. You know, they pay their employees fairly well, and so there's there's millions of dollars that go into the prosecution of these cases, and when if they don't win them or nothing fruitful comes from it, that's in a sense, when we talk about profit and loss and ROI, that's a hit that they have to take, and it really affects the next case. Whether will we take this? It's just like a DA that decides to file charges or not file charges. I hate to make it like this, but sometimes it really comes down to dollars and cents. Can we get a prosecution? Am I going to put my budget on the line to get this prosecution, or am I just going to say, not at this time, I don't think we can proceed? So I'm sure all those things are happening. That amount of subpoenas is not to me just for show. I don't think you do that for show. And so I think right now we got it's kind of calm waters, but I think they're just getting all their stuff in order. There's still conversations and investigations going on, and probably more under the radar, obviously. And so something's going to happen. I can't tell you when, but I don't think, obviously, I've heard some other people say it's over, it's done. One explanation I heard, Luke, was that it was scare. The feds thing was scare tactics to maybe deter or scare people into not doing it anymore. I don't think that really works like that.
There's too much money involved.
Yeah. So
that's the problem.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to deter it is someone serving time or a company getting heavily fined and that sort of thing. And so I don't think the subpoenas at the National was for show or scare tactics. I think it's really past that point.
Well, PSA and PWCC have been issuing refunds. The only reason you issue refunds is to look good with the district attorney. That's my personal opinion. The other point I want to make is some of these guys, and I would say Gary Moser, I really don't know the facts here, but I would say that some of these guys are responsible for millions of dollars in fraud. That's a long sentence.
Yeah.
So, talking about the Mafia, all it takes is one rat.
Yeah.
All it takes is one rat. One guy, let's say, for argument's sake, it's Gary Moser. He's facing 20 years in prison. Do you think that for for 2 minutes he's not going to rat. I mean, these guys do not look like they're hard, criminals. They look like they would rat in a second. And I think it's a matter of who's going to rat first.
Yeah.
It's obviously, talking moving forward on this, let's say the worst case scenario does happen. You have a lot of collectors who love what they collect and will still collect it no matter what. The thing you got to worry about is PSA. PSA is the key to this situation. The fact that they're doing what they're doing now kind of scares me a little bit, but it's the right thing for the hobby. They know they have a long-term game here, clearly. So, it's a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, you could hit that bubble has been ready to burst for the longest time. This could be that bursting moment.
Yeah, and you make a great point. And I knew this too. PSA, like you said, it's a nationally traded company on Wall Street. So this has different layers to it. They're trying to save as much face and keep that above board as best they can. They're taking on some water, but they're trying to keep that ship afloat long term. And like you said, I'm sure they're being probably very cooperative behind the scenes. And I don't know what other people are saying, but it's probably like I said this before. I use this analogy. It's probably sort of like that last 10, 15 minutes of The Departed. Everyone's out to get kind of everybody and save themselves. And I don't think it's going to be one person. I think it's going to be multiple people just spilling their beans and whatnot. And then it's really up to the feds to decide what kind of charges, what evidence is enough to go forward with what charges, and I think that's going to be the most interesting point is when things maybe start getting levied, to what direction they're levied at, and at who and what individuals or what companies, and that sort of thing.
Well, they're always going to look for their figurehead.
Yeah.
Last time I did this show, I made a prediction. I made a prediction that slab stocks was, and I hate to even bring them up, but because they're so yesterday's news, but I made the prediction that they were selling cars that they were pushing.
Yeah. Everyone
laughed. That's not happening. They're good guys, blah, blah, blah. A couple of days later, maybe a month later, boom. We find the infamous eBay. I'm going to make another prediction. They want a figurehead. If you ask me, the head of PWCC is the figurehead.
Yeah.
I think that's the guy that they want. Those text messages didn't look good.
No.
He's chill bidding.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good for him. And I think that they're going to try to get people to turn on him.
Yeah.
He's got to, the other thing, I don't know if whoever signed up for PWCC, this guy is pushing his stuff. We have record sales. We have, we just launched the vault.
Yeah.
Anyone who puts their cards in that vault is just asking for it.
No, so I agree too. And it's like I said, their setup at the National, it was eerie. It was weird. Every time I walked by there, it was like no one wanted to really go in there. It was just a real weird vibe, and that it was telling to me. There was no shortage of people at Beckett Graded or PSA. It really does feel like they're sort of the outcast, in this, when all the dust settles. I've said on the show, I don't know how that company survives past this. You know what I mean? I think they're already in trouble, obviously. And, to me, the only way they survive is Brett Hudgens he has to sell the company. And when I say sell the company, not to his cousin and run it behind, he literally has to dissolve himself and take himself completely out of the equation. And the new owner literally has to probably rebrand it and just say, listen, what's happened before me, I can't do nothing about it. It is what it is. What I'm telling you, I wasn't raised like that, and this company from here on forward is going to, be about integrity and values and morals, and we're starting fresh. We're rebranding, and the old regime is not here anymore. Give us a chance to prove us right and that sort of thing. That's the only way, and that really, in a way, what I just described, it's not so much PWCC surviving, because in a way they become a whole new entity anyway. So that's, to me, the only way stuff. It's almost got to be not even a transfer of power, but just a complete revamp and. Maybe they take over the same facility, or the vault stays with the new company, if you will. But I don't really see the way the name PWCC just comes out of this and thrives. I'd be shocked. I'd honestly be shocked.
I'd be shocked too. I think he's the one that goes down. He's on video talking about.
Well, Luke. Even when the story first started getting hot, he went on another podcast. I don't know if you heard about. I'm assuming you did, and he compared like restoring vintage cards to restoring paintings. And
he knew so much about it too, and that's what it was like. He was an expert.
Yeah, frankly,
he was saying stuff. I've collected cards for 20 years. He's talking about these methods that only a thug would know.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily listen to that other show, but I'm not going to lie. I listened to that episode for the reason that he was on it. I wanted to hear what he was going to say, and I thought he was going to be very vanilla and we're outstanding and we don't do that. I don't condone that. Some of what's text message has been taken out of context, and there's more to that conversation that didn't get put out there. I thought he was going to take that approach, and he did, like, to me, one of the worst things you could do, and he kind of justified his actions.
Yeah,
and
he made excuses for it.
Yeah, and he almost patted himself on the back. Here's what we're doing. This is nothing different that they don't do in the art industry, and we're innovators, and we're ahead of our time.
He said something like, "Whoever did that to that card did a favor to the hobby."
Yeah,
something along those lines. I read, and he just knows too much about it.
Yeah,
if you put it in water, it's not going to happen to this. And if you cut the edge, I mean, it's like, dude.
It was.
Notice? Well, this card is different size than that card, so you're not going to really notice if it's actually trimmed.
Yeah, I'm listening to it, and it was insane. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Like, and it wasn't much long after that. I mean, his counsel got involved, and he was told not.
He's been silent ever since then.
And I'll be honest with you. Full disclosure, I sent him an email to come on the show because I was very critical of him, and I've always said on this show I believe in equal time. And so if I say something and you don't agree with it, or you categorically deny it, you should have the ability to come on. But one thing I won't agree to, I'm not going to serve you questions you order. I'll give you equal time. You want to talk for 20 straight minutes without me saying anything, I'll do that for you. But I'm going to ask follow-up questions based on what you say or what I know or what's being reported. I'm not going to do a scripted interview with you, especially if you're alleged to do something that's not morally right. I'll give you all the time you need, but at the same time, I'm going to ask what I consider pertinent, important questions, and you're not going to tell me what I can't or can't ask if I have you on. I'll give you your time, and I made that offer to him. I didn't get a response, as I expected not to, but I at least wanted to extend that courtesy and privilege to him to come on. We're being critical, and I've said that about anybody, whether it's PSA or Beckett or anybody. If I mention you by name and you don't particularly like what I said or disagree with what I mentioned, there's an open door. Send me a text, an email. Hey, get me on the next show. I'll make the show 4 hours long. If I already did an interview with someone else, out of courtesy to them, I'm not going to not put them on the show, but I'll make a 4-hour episode if that's what needs to be done. We'll put you on. So no one's obviously taken that offer, and I didn't expect it to. But if someone chooses to, that's not lip service. That's for real. So
he probably can't even talk right now, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
no. I'm after that podcast interview, he was pretty much shut down. So, I think they're like you said. I agree. I think they're the bullseye that is probably in the crosshairs. And you know what? After hearing that interview and reading some of the stuff, I don't feel sorry for them. They brought a lot of this. You reap kind of what you sow, So
people make mistakes, and I'm for someone coming out and saying, "Hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
As long as you do right by that.
Yeah,
mistakes.
to me, like you just said, he had a chance kind of to get out in front of it, and he did actually the complete opposite. He really spun it around.
He's got such a big ego
that
he thinks he's doing something good for us. Yeah. And I thought it was disgusting, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
The guy is pathetic, and he's caught red-handed, and he probably sat in the shower the night before trying to think of every which way he could spin it. And next thing you know, the only thing he did was he sat and spun, and he really messed up, because that's going to be the video that plays at his court hearing when he's taken down. And, the other thing is PSA has always protected themselves. They are a smart company. They are giving an opinion. People pay for their opinion. Yeah. So if they gave a poor opinion, it's still an opinion.
Yeah.
These guys, they know what they're doing. They're buying cars. They're reselling cars. They're using fake emails. They're fake eBays. There's a trail of this. There's a written trail of this. I saw screenshots of text messages. I mean, those could be fake. I highly doubt it.
Yeah,
but they could
be
fake. But you're out here telling people to shill bid. You know who wants to buy certain things.
Yeah.
It's
terrible, man. That's really there's no other way to put it. It's not by accident. It's not. I made a mistake. I don't even think. Making a mistake is kind of a one-time thing or a couple times. This was just premeditated. This is what we're doing. Everyone, I'm calling the shots. Here's what's going to happen. Type of orchestrated. Unscrupulous business practices, and so that's not by accident. That's not a momentary lapse of judgment. This is how we're gonna manipulate the market. This is how we're gonna make the most money for me and this company and that. And so now I really I'm a compassionate type of guy, Luke, but I don't when someone does that stuff and then goes on another show and tries to make us like we're the dummies and I'm ahead of the curve and you guys got it all wrong. I don't feel sorry. I don't feel sorry for someone like that. I think I'm waiting for that due process and his comeuppance, and I'll be the first to I'll be in a hurry to report it and talk about it and applaud it.
Yeah, I'm right with you. And I wish the questions that were asked to him were harder questions.
That was a softball interview. That was here's your 10 minutes. Say whatever you want. I'm not gonna put you on the hot seat whatsoever. I get it, and I'll stick up for the podcast slightly. And if you're not a professional journalist, it's hard. It's easy to say, even for me, I can grandstand here and say, Luke, if this guy's on the show, I'm going to say this and I'm going to ask him that. I don't care. And honestly, I would, but it's very easy for me to say it. And until you're really faced with it, and have to pull the trigger, so to speak, a lot of people talk a good game, and then when it comes to playing it, when the hot lights are on, they change their tune. I'm not particularly one of those. Like if he came on the show, I normally don't write. I'm gonna be honest with you. I normally don't write questions down. I just know what I want to ask and where to, definitely where the conversation goes. But an interview like that, I would definitely probably have questions I'd write down. Not so much because I couldn't remember them, but I just don't want to not ask something and miss something, and I.
Well, bring me on if you have questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to do that because then it would be, 2 against 1. I don't want that perception either. I get it, but we'll see how this all shakes out. Luke, I want to thank you for coming on, giving some more time. Always a great conversation, man. I'm not just saying that. We could probably do 4 hours. I don't know if everyone else will enjoy it as much as maybe me or you did. There's definitely going to be a part 3. I'm sure it'll be better than Godfather Part 3 was. I'm a huge Godfather. But always great insight, and I love what you brought about some of that autograph stuff, even the non-sport stuff, which I think has a direct correlation to compare to the sports market and how they match up. So
there's definitely a bright future there for sure.
Yeah, and maybe someone will hear this podcast, and maybe you've created for them a new aspect to their hobby. So at this point, I want to give you the last say here. Give out any of your handles, websites. I know we didn't get to touch on it too much today. We did talk a little bit about it on the first time, but you give sort of investment advice and historical data on some cards and players, and you don't charge for it, unlike who. And so give out where anyone can get a hold of you, see your stuff, and all that stuff.
So you can all follow me on Instagram at the baseball card. A ton of people ask me for advice daily. I answer every message. I love having the conversations. I will be putting out a website. I've talked about this last time. It's done. It's been built. I will be dropping the Pascal Collections website probably as soon as the baseball season ends, and I'll start promoting the autographs more through my Instagram as well. But if anyone ever has a question about autographs or historical stuff or cards or grading or just wants to hear my thoughts and opinions on certain things, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at any time.
That's awesome, man. And like I said, we'll have you back on. When that website goes live, let me know. I'll plug it, post a link to it, and definitely hook you up there. So I think what you do is very cool. And you're smart, and I think it's accurate. So that's, anyone can give out information, but that doesn't mean it's always correct. I know you do your research, you do your homework. You're not a phony baloney like some other people might be, and you stand behind what you say, and you don't mince words, and I'm like that. So when someone else is like that, I'm very appreciative of it. Someone may not like everything we say, Luke, or even agree with everything that we say, but one thing they have to say is, hey, there's they say what's on their mind, and they're honest about what they talk about. So and that's all I need to hear. Even if someone doesn't agree with it.
We're definitely honest, and I think it's because we've both been in the hobby for 20 plus years. We've gotten burned before, and we've seen fraud, and we've seen the nonsense, and we want to protect the other people from going through what we've gone through. But sometimes it takes a learning experience like we've experienced to get through that. But hey, I don't mince words. I know you don't either. I think it's important to be like that, especially in a hobby like this. You want to work with honest people.
Yep, no doubt. So, man, thanks again, Luke. We'll have you back. We'll, month or two, we'll have you back on. We'll see. Maybe we'll have some breaking in the grading stuff by then. We can kind of revisit that and see where these chips may have fallen, and we'll go from there. So, again, thanks, man. Thanks for bringing that insight today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, time for our wide open segment. We haven't done it in a few weeks, but it's the segment where you, the listener, get to ask me a few questions, and we answer them on the podcast. We have two questions today. The first one coming from Andrew M. Of Facebook, and we don't get a ton of questions really from Facebook, so this is kind of different, but very nice, and it's a good question. It pertains to Brendan McKay, and Andrew basically asks my thoughts on him. Should he hold him, sell him now? He's got some Brendan McKay stuff, and he wants to know what to do with it. I recently myself sold some autos of Brendan McKay. He's a hitter and a pitcher similar to Ohtani. I think the talent level's a lot different. I think Brendan McKay is going to, probably have a double-digit career in the major leagues, but I think it's going to be on the mound. I think he projects out as a number 3 starter type with potential number 2 upside. I don't think he's going to be dominating. I think he'll be solid. I think, it may be time to sell. I think that the ceiling has probably been reached. And again, I think he's going to make his claim to fame on the hill. So my recommendation is probably if you can get a decent price now, go ahead and pull the trigger, move him now. I don't really see him blowing up and being an elite type player. So, all right. And question number 2 comes to us via the route of Instagram. It's from a Michael K., another player-related question, this time from the world of football. And he asks, which I know you said that you're not a big fan of the 2019 football rookie class in comparison to the 2018. But which rookie in the 2019 class do you think has the best long-term to be successful in a good card investment? Great question. Like I said, or you said that I said, which is true. Not a huge fan of the 2019 class. I don't think there's anyone crazy dominating like a Saquon and those types of guys. But I guess if I had to pick one or two, and I think you're going to have to wait. I think it's going to be a few years, but I guess my picks would be, I like N'Keal Harry. He's in New England, wide receiver. I think he was the best wide receiver in this draft, and as much as it pains me to say it, New England, I think, is going to hit again with him. And if I had to pick another guy, I really, none of the quarterbacks knocked my socks off. I'm probably going to go, on the defensive side in Devin Bush. I know it's a homer pick with my Steelers. And I guess let's mention 3. It's my show, so I can do it. But if I pick another offensive guy, I'll go with Josh Jacobs. But I don't think he's going to be elite. I think he's just going to be a solid running back, not super standout. So I'll go Harry Jacobs and Devin Bush on the defensive side. So again, that being said, when you compare the 2019 class to the 2018, they don't line up to me. So I could be wrong. We'll see. Couple good questions there, player related. Always, opinions are just of the host, may not be true, and are subject to change. But any questions you have in the future, at any point, I'd really like to do the segment almost every show. Message us, private message us, public message us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page. Your question, we'll read it on the air. If you go to our Anchor FM app, you can even leave a voice message. If you do it that route, I'll put your voice on the air and answer your question in return. We do have a new show chat room, kind of a new app called Flick Chat. I've posted the link on my social media. So it's sort of like a show chat room. It's in its infancy stages, but you can message us there as well. So if you want any questions read and answered on the Sports Card Nation podcast, there's various ways to get that done. Hope you like that wide open segment. It's an opportunity for you, the listener, to ask us questions. You can ask us questions through any of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email. And email any question you have. We'll read off your handle, your name. If you want to use your real name, forward that to us as well. We'll obviously ask the question you have and answer it on the air as I just did with those two questions there. If you go to Anchor FM, we have a voice message option where you can basically leave like a voicemail asking your question. And if you do it that fashion, we haven't had anyone do that yet, but if you do it that fashion at Anchor FM, we'll actually air you asking the question itself, and obviously we'll respond to that and and answer that. So we try to be interactive. That's really a backbone of this show. So we love the questions. Like I said, it could be sports related, it could be card related, it could be off topic, as long as you keep it clean and we're a family show, so to speak. So, keep it above board, but ask away and we'll air your questions on future episodes. So we hope you like the segment. It's we haven't done it every episode, but we've done it on a good percentage of them, and we've gotten some great questions, and it's really fun to truthfully kind of turn the tables on myself. Usually I have a guest on and I'm asking the questions. It's kind of nice to get asked one and then respond. And of course I'm long-winded, so you get a really nice long response, like it or not.
Hey guys, this is Matt from Firebox Sports Card Cases. In our hobby, there are so many different ways to collect. From group breaks to singles, Hall of Fame vintage to prospect autos. No matter how you collect, you place a premium on your cards. With our durable aluminum frames, precision cut foam inserts, locking closures, and detachable shoulder straps, Firebox will be the only case worthy of your collection. Firebox offers 3 unique cases so you can choose the option that best fits your collecting style. Whether you want the most graded capacity, the versatility to seamlessly switch between raw and graded cards, or hands-free buying, selling, and trading with our first-of-its-kind collector's hardshell backpack, Firebox has a solution for you. There is plenty of fire to pull in today's hobby, but the hobby isn't in the junk era anymore. So why are you still storing your collection in boxes made of junk? Go to fireboxcases.com today and use promo code SCNPOD to get 10% off your order of a premium case to reflect your premium cards. That's fireboxcases.com, promo code SCNPOD to start bringing the heat with you wherever you go.
It's time for From the Box Seat. time to go around to the world of sports in our From the Box Seat segment. Let's start with the NFL. A lot of news in the NFL. Season is in full swing here through 3 weeks. Always injuries are always happen and always a risk. And this guy's on my fantasy team. I couldn't stand to see him go down. He's got a high ankle sprain. He's in a walking boot. I'm probably talking about Saquon Barkley. So the timetable given for Saquon, 4 to 6. But the Daniel Jones era has begun, and it started off with a bang. And I got to be honest with you. If you've heard me on the show, you know I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy. I thought the Giants were nuts taking him at 6. And right now, it's 1 week, folks. Let's slow the roll. But, that 1 week, he was tremendous. And, brought him back and gave him a comeback win over the Tampa Bay Bucks. He did it in the air. He did it on the ground with 2 touchdowns each in those capacities. And, I know it's one game, but I got to give the young man credit. Did very well, showed very well for himself. We could say what you will about Tampa Bay. Maybe they're not a great team. Let's see when he gets against some real competition, if you will. But, hats off to him, and so far proven me wrong. But, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So let's hold on the putting Daniel Jones in the Hall of Fame stuff. Some of the Giants fans' posts I've seen pertaining to him are comical with, he's the greatest quarterback in the history already. Let's pull up on the reins here and give him a time to see what else he can do in more of a playing time. So Giants going young. It's probably a wise idea, honestly. Eli's obviously handling it like the class individual that he actually is. Baker Mayfield apparently is really soft. And I'm for being a Steeler fan, I'm actually a Baker Mayfield fan. But, just recently, it's like anytime someone's critical of him, he has to respond. And, you're talking about you're in your second year, Baker. You need to let stuff go. You don't have to respond to every time someone nitpicks you, criticizes you, or doesn't say something you agree with. And he's showing to be very thin-skinned, and that's not necessarily a good sign. The recent spat pertained to comments made by Rex Ryan, where he said that Baker was overrated. That's Rex Ryan's opinion, and Baker responded and said that that's why Rex Ryan doesn't have any colors right now, alluding to the fact he's not coaching anymore and he's doing analysis on football shows. And I get it, he's mad, he doesn't like someone saying he's basically not that great. But you know what, Baker, use that as motivation, put it on your bulletin board of your mind. But to come out in the press every time someone says something, whether it's Colin Cowherd or another analyst, and it's going to be a long and bumpy road. You're in your second year, and this has happened like 3 or 4 times, so or more. And someone maybe from the Cleveland brass has got to sit down with him and maybe just say, you know what, you got to let this roll off your back. Just go out there and play. You want to prove your doubters wrong, do it by your play. And, for him to fire back at Rex Ryan, I get it, but he's not really performing very well right now, and probably he should be more concerned with, better play on the field than comebacks to analysts who voice their opinion and get paid to do so off the field. So Baker, play football, block out that outside noise, as they say. And you know what? Hopefully it does derail him, because I'm a Steeler fan. So it won't hurt my feelings if the Browns get off the track. Jalen Ramsey is disgruntled, and you can say what you want. First it was the flu, then he's going home to witnessed the birth of his daughter or his child. That I understand, but it's, there's some other stuff going on in Jacksonville. He don't want to be there. He's already demanded a trade, and now it's any reason to not be in that building. And at some point, this is what Antonio Brown opened up these kind of floodgates where if guys aren't happy with their situation, they force their way out. They force their hand. And now really Jacksonville almost is at a point they have to trade him. They're trying to hold out for number one draft picks. They're looking for multiple, not just one. But they're probably going to have to settle for getting a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a player. And truthfully, if they can get those three things in one deal for Jalen Ramsey, I think you got to do it. He's proven to sort of be a bristly guy, kind of disgruntled guy, puts himself, honestly, in my opinion, above his teammates, and is sort of a selfish player. So if you can get a haul for him, like I just said, a 1, a 2, and a young player in return, just go ahead and move him. Start fresh. Maybe it'll be, addition by subtraction. I thought the Steelers were going to have some addition by subtraction. They're 0-3, so I don't know if I subscribe to that theory like I once did. But, I think it's time for Jacksonville and Jalen Ramsey to part company. Melvin Gordon is returning, ending his holdout. He's not going to pull a Le'Veon Bell and sit out the whole year. So he's coming back to the Chargers. He will not play this Sunday, even though he's reported at the time of this recording. So if you have Austin Eckler or Justin Jackson, I have Eckler myself. You probably can definitely play him this Sunday, but we'll see how they work Melvin Gordon back in, and maybe it's a deal where he comes back and then leaves again. I don't know. And, I thought Austin Eckler represented himself very well as a potential starting back in this league, and he definitely makes a lot less money than Melvin Gordon does. So it'll be interesting to see how the Melvin Gordon situation plays out. Does he get limited touches? Do they kind of prove a point to him that they don't need him? You're back, but you're not going to get the ball 20 times like you're used to. You're going to get the ball, 8 to 10 times. Austin Eckler is going to get the ball 8 to 10 times, and Justin Jackson is going to get the ball 5 times. So we'll see. I think obviously for the Chargers, they just they want to win games. So any way they think they can win a game, and whoever gives them the best chance to get that W, they're gonna go in that direction. So I don't see, based on how Austin Eckler played, I don't see the Chargers backing up the Brinks truck and giving Gordon what he's looking for. So he may just play this string out and then go sign a deal somewhere else. And then that leaves the ball in the Chargers' court if they think that's going to be the case. Do they try to move him and get something in return? And if you're a team that even wants him, you're probably not going to give up a lot because he may leave, and you really got to rent the player. So it almost would have to be a sign and trade type deal. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but you never know. So let's go on to other sports here. Hockey preseason's in full swing. A lot of different players have changed residence, so you may need a lineup card to see who your favorite team has on their team now. But all joking aside, there was a lot of free agent movement, more so this year than last year. So I think hope springs eternal. A lot of rebuilt rosters, reloaded rosters. So regardless of how your team may have done last year, I think everyone is optimistic. I know I am as a Ranger fan with them signing Panarin and drafting, Kakko. I'm excited for what the future might hold after a non-playoff year last year, and I think a lot of other NHL fans are going to go in feeling that sort of same way. So, hockey is back, and I've always been a Ranger fan, but I think I'm going to open a lot more hockey this year than I traditionally do, and I'm going to definitely watch a lot more as well. On to baseball. The Ronald Acuna Jr. 40-40 dream will not happen in 2019. Look for another crack at it on 2020. They've shut him down for the rest of the regular season here to get ready for the playoffs. He slightly injured his groin. He's not going to miss any playoff time, but they don't want to risk making that injury worse here in the last few games when they've kind of clinched what they need to do. So he'll finish the regular season at 41 home runs, 37 stolen bases, 3 stolen bases shy of the 40-40 mark. I think, barring a major injury, that Acuna will eventually eclipse that 40-40 club. And there's many that think he could potentially be 50-50. I'm not going to go that far, but I think he's made his place in the baseball world as one of the best young players in the game. He's been getting comparisons to Mike Trout. I think it's way too early for those, but he's done very well for himself, and he's going to be a force to reckon with in the hobby and on the diamond for many years to come. So let's talk about Bryce Harper and the Phillies. They backed up the Brinks truck, as I like to say. They paid him an astronomical contract with postseason hopes and World Series dreams in mind, and not this year. And the Phillies will not be playing in the postseason. And isn't it ironic, the team that officially eliminated him from postseason contention? The Washington Nationals. So if you're the Nationals, you probably wouldn't have scripted any better than that. Not only did the Nationals eliminate the Phillies and Bryce Harper from postseason play, they've clinched and they're going into it. So they lose Bryce Harper and they make the playoffs, and the Phillies get Bryce Harper and aren't going. So money can't always buy you postseason. I think that proves that. And so we'll see. It's going to be, we're here in the home stretch here, a few games left to determine who's in, but that's really becoming a lot clearer. The Brewers have clinched, the Nationals have clinched, and my Mets will be golfing once again. Speaking of the Mets, Pete Alonso has eclipsed the 50 home run threshold. He hit his 50th, passing Mark McGwire for second on the all-time rookie home run season. Still stands 2 behind Aaron Judge, who hit 52 in 2017. So it looks like he's going to fall just short of Aaron Judge's record. But an incredible year. I know they didn't make the postseason, but the seasons put together by the 2 Mets rookies and Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil give even the most pessimistic of Met fans, me, some hope for the future. The Wilpons are still there, so that hope is a lot dimmer knowing that. And that being said, but what an incredible year by Pete Alonso. I like I've said before, did not see anywhere near that the year he had coming. 50 home runs. Definitely going to win. He's going to be your National League Rookie of the Year. Someone says, well, they like to give that to better teams like the MVP. Let's be honest, the Mets kind of put themselves back into contention after a great second half surge. Yes, they fall short, but at one point they were double digits under 500, and they're going to probably finish over 500 after that. So a nice little rally late, not enough, but I think it's actually enough to definitely solidify Pete Alonso as your National League Rookie of the Year. So there's a bright lining in not a overall successful year for the Mets. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way. Are you tired of that standard annoying team bag? You know, the ones that get wrinkly, baggy, scratched up, and cloudy where you can't even see your prized cards anymore? I was too, until I found the answer. And that answer is crystal clear. Perfect Fit Sleeves. These sleeves are water clear and smooth as silk, and are what collectors are waiting for way too long. The solution comes in every size, from the smallest to the largest, including thick magnetics and graded cards. I use them. I swear by them. Find yours today at www.perfectfitsleeves.com or go to eBay and search seller Richie707, RICHY 707. You can thank me later. Well, that does it for another episode of the Sports Card Nation. As always, we thank you for joining us. Want to thank my guest Luke Pascal today for giving us some time, coming back on the show, his second appearance. I'm sure there'll be a third somewhere down the line as well. I'm going to keep the closing short and sweet today and not ramble on, but just want to say we got some great stuff coming up. Got the new show with Drew Sunday night, 9:30 live. You get to see the ugly mug and learn about some football. And I'm sure we'll do some giveaways on that show as well. And we got some future giveaways coming up on this show, from a Gary V auto set, some cash, and as always, cards. And we just gave away, thanks to Firebox cases, a slab pack backpack case that a lucky listener got to win. So we love giving stuff away. It's better to give than receive. Fall is starting. Halloween, Christmas, man, this is my personally my favorite time of year. Hoodie season, as they call it. It's not too hot. Those 90-degree days that we do sometimes get, believe it or not, here in New York are over. While I don't like snow necessarily, those 90-degree days are kind of brutal too. So I like those fall crisp air, 60, 70. That's fine. Everyone knows what I think of football. So it's football season. It's hoodie season. It's the fall. It's my favorite season. I don't know if it's your favorite season, but it's definitely my favorite season. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the season, where the show's going. And as always, I want to say thank you for being on this ride with us. And if you're so inclined, check out Roughing the Passer this Sunday, and hopefully every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Stay tuned for details of where you can find that show. We're working out a few minor kinks there, but going to bring you a lot of football news, notes, stock up, stock down, best bets. Going to be a jam-packed. I think we'll probably run an hour and a half, but we're going to be loading that thing up with content. So, Drew does a very good job. I'm okay. I think you put it together, and we'll be pretty good. So, if I may be so bold. So, as always, thanks, and remember, the hobby is the people. So, with that being said, I'm going to let one of my favorite musicians take us out. Billy Joel, take it away.
Don't take any shit from anybody, and I mean it.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.